Hi, this is Bob Maloney from Miracle Products. Today we're going to do a little more detailed work on instructions for Vance Instant Gun Bluing. The first thing we want to consider is degreasing. There is no such thing as a degreaser that works on every item. There's so many polymers and lubricants and different things that are wiped onto guns to protect them that even carbon tat only works about 85% of the time. So here's a list of some degreasers that work very well. We obviously have one called Citragun that works extremely well about 80% of the time. It's non-flammable, no fumes, it doesn't damage wood finish, so that's the one that I use all the time. But there are several others that you should have in your arsenal. Number one would be brake parts cleaner. Non-chlorinated brake parts cleaner, one of the best degreasers there is and very inexpensive. Another one would be acetone or any of the ketones like MEK. Another one to consider, because you might have it on hand, is clear PVC pipe cleaner. Not the purple stuff, but the clear. All right. When we degrease, there is one problem that seems to crop up more frequently than others. If you use a solvent like brake parts cleaner and spray it on there, it dries so quickly that people then think, well, I'm ready to work. No, all you've done is lifted up the dirt and laid it back down again. So when you use a solvent that dries quickly, what you want to do is spray some on the gun, spray some on a paper towel, wipe it dry. That will take all of the stuff you've loosened off, catch it in the paper towel. Now you're ready to go. With the Citragun, it doesn't dry very quickly, so you can scrub it on there and wipe it dry. And again, you're picking up the dirt and the grease that was on there. If it's pretty serious grease and dirt, you might want to wash the thing with the solvent and a little 4/0 steel wool and then wipe it back off. But degreasing is critical. The only time that Vance Instant Gun Blue won't work is if it's not steel or not touching the steel. If it's not touching the steel, generally you'll see spots or streaks, or it won't get dark because it's not penetrating into the metal. Something is hindering it. That means you didn't degrease well enough. You'll also discover that when you degrease, if the metal's slightly warm, hairdryer warm, it will wash the grease off easier because you've softened it up prior to using a chemical on it. I've had people say, well, I degreased it by taking some steel wool to it. That doesn't degrease it. That just spreads it around. So what you want to do is use a solvent that will remove grease and oil and silicone, Teflon if possible, and make sure there's no residue left on the gun before you start to blue it. So degreasing is critical. The second thing that's critical, and it's usually a problem, and that is texture. I had a gentleman bring me a Browning that had a drop of blood on it, and the blood had eaten off the bluing. And I said, well, as long as you make the texture there the same as the texture of the rest of the gun, when you blue it, it'll be perfect. Well, he brought it back and he was very unhappy because he had this dull spot in the middle of the barrel. He had run his finger over the spot and said, well, that's perfectly smooth. No, it's not. Your finger is not sensitive enough to tell the difference between the 1800 grit that was polished out to and say 600 grit, which is 4 times rougher. So the easiest way to handle texture is with a simple test. The tool that you're going to use is an overhead light. What you do is take the piece and get an overhead light or a light source, and now tip the piece back and forth so that a streak of reflected light goes from the blued area through the white or worn area and back into the blued area, so that you can see the shape of that reflection. If the shape of that reflection is nice and sharp in the blued area, and when it gets to the white area, it gets wider or less distinct, that's too rough. If it got narrower in the white area, it's too shiny. But if that streak of light retains the exact same shape and clarity from the blue through the white back into the blue, you've got it. You now have the correct texture if you want that piece perfect. Whatever you make that metal look like before you blew it is what it looks like after you blew it. So the tool you use to get there is less important than where you get. So now whether you use fine sandpaper, whether you use steel wool, whether you buff it on a buffing wheel, rub it on a wire wheel, drag it behind your car, regardless of how you get there, to the millionth of an inch, what it looks like before you blew it is what it looks like after you blew it. As an example, you got a parkerized finish. In order to get that satin finish, they glass beaded or sandblasted or soda blasted that metal, and then when they parkerize it, you have a matte or a satin finish. If you have a wear mark in a satin finish, and the wear mark is nearly always shinier than the surrounding territory because that texture has been rubbed smooth. If you blew that, you're going to have shiny black instead of dull black. No way you need to sandblast or steel wool, sandblast or soda blast the entire piece for that. What you do is this: lay some 220 grit sandpaper on the shiny area. Either tap with a mallet or roll an iron bar across it like a rolling pin. What that will do is press that bite in so that the metal is now dull. When the white area is as dull as the surrounding territory, blew it. It'll look exactly the way you made it. So if it looks the same when it's white, it'll look the same when it's blued. Another thing about texture is that when you make a texture and blue it, if you're unhappy, you can go back and change that texture. It's going to take off the bluing, but you can redo in order to get the texture correct. You're never stuck. Since this isn't going to overlap or hurt anything, what you can do is redo a piece that you have incorrectly polished. There's a time when I'd prefer not to polish out the metal. You see, if you fix the metal and blue the gun, it's going to look like brand new out of the box. If that's Grandpa's gun, you've just ruined it. So on an older gun, I will degrease it, then I will take 4-0 steel wool dipped in the bluing, and I'll wash that gun like I'm washing pots and pans. That pulls light to medium rust without stripping. At that point, wipe that all off and blue it the way it is. You'll have solid color and no rust, but where it's dull, it's still dull. Where it's shiny, it's still shiny. It looks like Grandpa's gun, but in wonderful shape for its age. You can always go farther if you've restored a gun like that. Give you an example. You have a handgun with holster wear on it. If you hold that up to the light, you'll discover that the shine of the white metal, where it's been worn, is different than the shine of the rest of the gun. If you want it perfect, you'd fix that texture and blue it, and you'd have a brand new gun. But if a gunsmith picks that gun up and looks at it, and he knows you've carried it for 10 years, and it's perfect, in his mind he's thinking, how bad was it before he fixed it? And the price is going down. On the other hand, if you blew it as is, degrease it thoroughly, soak the bluing in till it's good and dark, wipe that off and oil it, you'll have solid color and no overlapping. But where it's dull, where it's shiny. So you hand that to the same gunsmith. He looks at it and says in his mind, I can see this has been carried, but it hasn't worn through the bluing yet, which makes the owner one of those fuss budgets that takes very good care of his gun. Now the price is going up when it's not perfect, and it goes down when it is perfect. But if you've restored a gun, pulled the rust and blued it, and you do not like the results, you can go back, smooth it out further, maybe not to perfect, but smooth it out further and re-blue it. If you're not happy with either of those, you can smooth it all the way out until it's perfect and then blue it, and it will be perfect. So texture is a very important part of getting this bluing to match. If it doesn't make the same shine on the metal before you blue it, it's not going to have the same shine on that metal after you blue it. We're not hiding anything with a coating. We're soaking in and changing the metal. So your prep's going to show to the millionth of an inch. I hope this helps. Thank you.